Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, Ray.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. I am Heather Wildsmith, and this lady over here. The thing is backwards, so I have to adjust.
Oh.
This lovely woman over here is Radiance Thompson, and she is an amazing Reiki master, and she is on a mission to help other empaths and people that are realizing that they have gifts, or maybe they've known they've had gifts for a while. Her mission is to empower them to learn more about their gifts, learn how to use them consciously. And she has an amazing 5-day workshop that's going to be starting tomorrow. So I wanted to come have her come on and talk to her, let you get to know her a little bit better. And it's going to be a little hard for us to see questions. So because we are on StreamYard. But yeah. So I'm excited to be here. I'm going to let Ray talk to you for a second while I get this shared in a couple of different places.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Heather. I truly appreciate you as always. Did you want me to get started on who I am and
what
I
do? Introduce, tell them your elevator speech type thing while I'm getting all in here.
Wonderful. So, my name is Radiance. I am a Reiki master and spiritual coach empowering empaths and highly sensitive women tapping into their gifts. And women, I like to spell with an X to include non-binary women as well. So, what I do is I help empaths embody the power of being an empath by helping them build self-trust with their intuition, get into alignment, so they can stop feeling like they have to always protect their energy and learn how to project their energy so they can change the energy of the room and truly embody the power of being an empath by being an empath unapologetically. And I feel like it's very important for empaths to really emerge right now. I mean, we're in a very, very special time in the universe. We're a very, very special time in this world. There's so many changes happening all at once. I mean, the spiritual world, we're saying that the veil has been lifted and that the veil is being thinned. In layman's terms, that means that everyone's seeing through the bullshit, okay? And it's time that everyone just wakes up and actually just becomes exactly who they're meant to become right now and really help humanity. And humanity really needs empaths. And why do I serve empaths? Well, because I'm an empath and I didn't know I was an empath for so long. You know, I was a kid. I would have premonitions. I'd have dreams. One dream that I had actually, I had a dream that my mother passed away in a car and had a heart attack. And I know that's going to sound a little bit graphic, but when I told my mom about this dream, she told me that her father, my grandfather, died in that way. So wow. As a kid, to not understand that that's actually a gift that I had tapped into, but had no knowledge of what that gift was or what that meant, I had to navigate as an adult and understand that it was actually a gift that I had, my ability to understand the past, present, future. That's a gift. And often, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of empaths, a lot of people that have these sensitivities to energy and to feelings and to people around them, they are made to feel ashamed of themselves for having these abilities. They're made to feel ashamed for being able to have dreams that come true or being able to tap into things that make people uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I feel like right now, with 2020 being the way it is, I mean, you know, everyone's saying 2020 has been a very tough year, and it has, but it also has been a year of really eye-opening things. So, you know, everyone's more awake to what's really been going on. And we've tried to put things under the rug for so long, but it's like, for what now? I mean, we've been given 2020 vision on what to do. Let's not go backward. Let's move forward and really start embracing ourselves and being our authentic selves, our truest and highest form of ourselves. And the best way to be and fully express yourself is to embrace every aspect of yourself. And empaths need to do that right now more than ever. You know, we are the givers. We're the natural lovers. We're the natural people pleasers, right? We're the fixers. We love to help people. And when you have the ability to help people and when you want to inherently, because it's part of who you are, it's part of your heart, why hide it? So my goal is for people like myself that felt like they had to hide, that felt like they had to be ashamed, or felt like everything that they were experiencing was a coincidence. I want you to understand that it's not a coincidence. It's not nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to embrace, and it's something that you can grow and hone in on and have more control over. So that way you can affect your present and build the future that you want with your gifts, especially as an empath. And you can use your gifts anywhere. Like I go to work and I use my gifts while at work. I'll be like, okay, I know that I don't need to be around this person. I know that I don't need to be in this situation. I know that this person's full of, poo-poo doo-doo or poo-poo doo-doo. It's poo-poo doo-doo.
That's the mommy in her coming out, is she's got to use the. Yeah. So one of the things I find most fascinating about you, and so I was referred to Ray by a coach that I was working with several months ago, and I had the privilege of having a super powerful Radiance Reiki. Blech, I can't talk. A really powerful Reiki session with Ray, and it was I've had a lot of energy work done, and she is one of the most powerful. Just blew me up like a Christmas tree. And for anybody that's they're like, oh shit, I don't know if I can handle it. It wasn't bad. Like it was a very loving, just expansive, joyous, energy. And I felt uplifted for a day, at least afterwards. And I had a big shift. I got my first client shortly after that session, so Ray is definitely the real deal. And there's so many fascinating things about her. But one of the most fascinating things to me is that, when we see someone who's out and proud and they're talking about, I'm empathic, I'm highly intuitive, I'm very spiritual. A lot of times we assume that they're either really weird, or they're, leading some kind of extreme spiritual life. There's this idea that if you're spiritual, that you can't live in the world. You've got to be living on a mountaintop, somewhere in poverty, in order to be spiritual. And, so Ray, you can see she's in her kitchen. She, talks about, being a single mom, so she's definitely in the world background. Wait till you hear, Ray, what's your degree in?
Yeah, so I actually got a degree in biological sciences. So I have a bachelor's degree in biological sciences. I've done research projects. I've done national, local, and regional research presentations, and I got in fellowship awards because of my research. I'm highly, highly, highly woo-woo, but I'm also highly, highly science-based. So what I'm saying that for is because often there's this misinterpretation that woo-woo's over, hold on, let me make sure I'm in the camera, woo-woo's over here, and that science is over there. There we go.
Right. And I know.
And we want to make sure that, especially as spiritualists, that we bridge the gap and make sure you understand that they're actually both very much intertwined. Yeah. It's just that in my eyes, science hasn't caught up to the woo-woo. And I know that there's a belief system that woo-woo is not science-based, but it's actually that woo-woo or energy or spirits or whatever you want to call it has had the foundation for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's just that there weren't data to support what people who were able to tap into their intuition, tap into their spiritual realm, and be guided to naturally do were doing. There was no data to support it. They just knew what to measure it.
Right. Measure it or prove it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
No, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So I love that because, I'm a fairly woo-woo person myself. And, when I spoke with Ray, obviously she's very intelligent, but I've met some really intelligent woo-woo people and eventually they kind of they go further woo-woo than I'm able to follow, and that's never happened with you, and then, but when I found out you had this big science background, I was like, that's very interesting, because, I guess the other thing is you think like if somebody's really spiritual and they're talking about meditating and they're talking about being in touch with spirit and all that stuff, that they must be like a yoga instructor or like a chiropractor or something like that. That's like the only thing that they could do, for a quote unquote real job. Share with everybody what it is that you do. As you're building your business. She's getting very close to quitting, but
yeah. So on my day job, at my corporate job, what I do is I basically make T cells for cancer patients. So long story short, we receive leukemic patients, we receive non-Hodgkin's patients' blood, and we re-engineer their cells to target their specific type of cancer. And we create a one person fits all, not one person fits all, a one person, how do you say, what's the word that I'm looking for right now? A prescription that's only meant for one person. There we go.
Yes.
A prescription that's meant for only one person. We create a product, and that product is then reinserted back into the patient, and that patient hopefully will be cured of cancer.
Yeah. So, and this is really super cutting edge stuff. I went through cancer treatment. I finished last August, and I had breast cancer, and I was not I hadn't been using Western medicine really for about 5 or 6 years at that point. And, was told that I had stage 3 cancer and I was going to have to go through chemo. And I started doing research, and I just found out about this type of treatment. And I went to my oncologist, and they're like, yeah, they haven't, at that time, they weren't doing it for breast cancer patients. Yeah, it was just for like some specific types. But I mean, it's some seriously like intricate stuff, and I mean, like you're making, you're basically bioengineering someone's and upgrading their immune system to fight off this cancer. So, I mean, yeah, I just find that fascinating about you that, during the day, you're re-engineering human immunity to fight one of the, things that up until now, we really haven't been able to do a lot about. And then in the evenings and on your days off, you're educating people about spirituality, you're healing people. And I think it's just beautiful. It's like you're healing people at your corporate job, well, you are, and then you're healing people in a different way in the evening. And I think it's fascinating.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sometimes, it's I've been working at my corporate job for 3 years. So sometimes I forget the impact until I talk to someone, especially someone that has had cancer. And it's like, wow, this is actually some groundbreaking stuff that we're doing, especially because, unfortunately, like I was telling you earlier, people have to fail a couple of rounds of chemo before they get this treatment. But it does provide an alternative. And I feel like at least there's that option.
Yeah. And that was the other thing is that right now, like, thank God I only had stage 3. I mean, it scared the hell out of me that I had stage 3, but thank God I only had stage 3. But this type of treatment, is only available for some types of cancer at this time. And you've got to be like the other stuff, can't be working for you, because I'm sure what you do is like unfathomably expensive, but
oh yeah,
once you've done everything, I mean, each of my chemo treatments, I want to say were like $80,000, and I had 6. And then I had radiation and all these surgeries and everything. So, I'm probably like a $500,000 medical wonder, at this point. But yeah, I just think it's important for people to see that, you can be really spiritual and you can be in touch with your gifts, and you can, like you said, even be using them in your day-to-day life. It's not like you have to be some kind of healer, or you have to be, the hermit in a cave on a mountaintop in order to be a spiritual person.
Right. And I think it's important that we understand, especially right now in this time of humanity, where there's just, it's almost like we're getting like a reset, like what are we going to do now as far as how we're going to start implementing certain changes that are going to affect the rest of the generations to come, right? And I feel like one of the things that we need to do is normalize spirituality. It needs to be normalized. Like, why does it have to be something that's hidden in the closet? Or why does it have to be something that is associated with people that aren't, or should I say, why can't it just be a mom and pop thing? Why can't it just be something that you do on a daily basis? Why can't it be something that you do when, like, you know, we have breastfeeding rooms in our jobs, right? We have all of these rooms just to relax. Why can't you have a room where you go and you meditate, you get yourself centered, you get yourself aligned, you get yourself, you know, in touch with source, and then you go back to work? I guarantee there'd be a lot less angry workers if they had that ability to just say, okay, let me tap into my higher self. You know, let me tap into or get myself out of this anger, this frustration, because I don't like working with who I'm working with, you know, or I don't like my job at the moment, you know, whatever it is. If I can just elevate and use spirituality, and it doesn't even take long, like 10, 15 minutes of just getting yourself centered, how much better if your day would be if you had that time. And if it was normalized, where it was like, okay, you know, go to work, you get trained on your job, you get trained on how to get in alignment so you don't be an asshole at your job, and then you come back to your job and you perform your job and then you go home. I mean, life would be so much different.
I agree. So one thing that I think a lot of people are afraid of with getting in touch with, well, first off, like briefly, like how would someone diagnose themselves? Like maybe they don't fully understand what empath is. Maybe they don't understand, you know, gifts, you know, but what are some things that may have happened to them that if they heard them, they would say, oh, well, maybe that is me.
Yeah. So one thing that you may notice, especially when you're starting to understand in the beginning that you are an empath or a highly sensitive person, is that you're sensitive to your surroundings. You know, you can sense when people are sad. Perhaps their sadness affects your mood. Perhaps you start to feel sad just because you see that person sad. And not only do you feel sad, but your body has a physical sensation. Like you feel the sadness within your body. It's almost like it brings your energy down. Your state of being down, just because you're absorbing the surroundings energetically within you. So that's one thing to pay attention to, or your ability to absorb negative emotions or negative energies, or perhaps you're always attracting energy vampires or people that kind of suck you dry, or perhaps you always feel the need to fix people, to help people, even to the point where you sacrifice yourself. You know, a lot of times empaths, because we feel so deeply about people and because we genuinely can see what they need and we want to help people so much, we forget that you can only help people to an extent, but it's you over help. You know, that's just what a lot of empaths do. Or perhaps you've had other types of spiritual gifts where you've had dreams that have come to pass. You've had deja vu. Right? Everyone's had that moment where there's deja vu, but these deja vu coincidences aren't coincidences. It's just that you have to record keep a little bit better to understand how to hone in on this gift, because you're actually tapping into something called a dream empath. You know, that's what you can do as a dream empath. You can have dreams that come to fruition. Yeah, those are like maybe the baseline of things. You know, I know especially empaths often feel like they can't fit in, you know, because they're just different from a lot of people. Perhaps, you know, crowded places make you feel a little bit overwhelmed. You know, you might need to isolate from a crowded place because it's just too much energy around you. You can't deal with it. You know, so those are pretty much the baseline qualities. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, but one of the things you help people do is to realize that they don't have to isolate, that there's ways of handling and refining and consciously using their gifts instead of, and that's when it really goes from being a curse to being a gift, is when you learn how to like dial it up, dial it down, turn it on, turn it off, you know, type thing, so that it's not a burden. You know, but like you can tune in for a second and read the energy of a room and be like, okay, this is kind of crappy. I'm going to turn my antenna down, you know, so that I don't absorb it. Right. But if you're not trained, you don't know what is happening. You walk in and you're just like, ah.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just being stupid. I was like, oh, that's the technical term.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes practice, and you have to just want to try something else. You know, I feel like that's one of the biggest things too, because empaths have this fear of themselves at first in the beginning. And it's like, okay, just because you have these abilities doesn't mean that you can't do something about them. And it doesn't mean that you need to feel guilty for doing something about them either. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to feel guilty for drawing boundaries. It doesn't mean that you have to feel guilty for protecting yourself. And eventually what you can do is you can learn how to tap into your energy system so much with the programs that I offer that you can learn to stop feeling the need to protect your energy. And then you could project your energy. You could change the energy of the room. You could change how energy affects you. And you can change how people are affected by your energy. You know, so I feel like that's the ultimate goal of empaths, because we are the change makers. So you might as well know how to change your surroundings with your energy.
That's really cool. And you and I have talked about this, that, you know, everybody talks about empaths, and it's all about, usually the conversations I hear about empaths is it's people who are like, oh my gosh, I just can't be around people. Like I have to isolate because I just can't take all the energy. And there's like almost like a victim-y thing in a lot of conversations about it. Like they're just, that it's this curse and they just can't do anything about it. And I find that's not true for myself. And I like that, you know, you have a similar view, and, you know, you're teaching people. But something that I realized about myself a few years ago was that when I feel really good, I do radiate out and I positively impact people. Like I can play games and like see how many people I can get to smile at me. And I can get a large percentage of people to smile if I smile at them. And it's, you know, I know that when I feel good, I really am like pushing energy out. And I was like, I wonder if that's an empath thing. It's like, you know, if you're able to kind of suck in energy, you're also able to like push it out. But you're the first person who's ever talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you're intuitively finding ways to push it out too, by smiling and by practicing these things with people.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think it was just like by accident I discovered in college, you know, that I could, you know, get, you know, I just was playing games, like walking to, I went to the University of Georgia, and I'd just be walking between classes, and I would be like, you know, smiling at people, and they kind of look miserable, but they would smile. And, but when I really noticed it was when I was working as a concierge, and I was working at this high-rise apartment building, and, the people there that were great were absolutely amazing. The people there that sucked, and there was only about 10% of them, but they sucked so bad that they made my life like living hell. And I allowed them to make my life a living hell. And but on the days that I showed up and I felt really good, everybody that passed through that lobby lit up, you know. And I think that I was probably radiating out crap on the days that I felt like crap, you know. Right. So it's like, when I'm a happy employee, I'm the best employee you'll ever have. But once I stop being happy, just like fire me, just get me out of there. It's just my fault. So one other thing I wanted to touch on, and then I want you to tell everybody about this 5-day challenge that you're doing, because I know you're always so generous with your information. And when I tune into your lives, like, you know, it's not just all like mindset, like you're actually giving like real actionable tips, you know, to do. It's one of the things I really respect about the way that you do your business. But yeah, I wanted to touch on, like, when I was little, I had prophetic dreams, and I mean, it was like knowing who was going to speak next at a family gathering. Like, it wasn't, you know, any earth-shattering thing, but it scared me. It scared me really badly. And one of the reasons why it scared me so badly is because I was raised in this podunk Southern Baptist, like super closed-minded town. And, you know, we went to, and like, if you're Christian and you're happy being Christian and it's good for you, fantastic. The Christianity I was brought up in was very mentally and emotionally abusive. And so it really just left, horrible taste in my mouth. But a lot of my fear of me shutting down my gifts at a young age was around like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. I'm a witch. And if people know this about me, I'm going to be stoned to death. Like, I'm just like, it's not safe here. I don't know, what's your take on that?
So religion is always a touchy subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I too was raised in the church, not to the extent that you were. I know that it sounds, you said Southern Baptist Church, right? Yeah, I know that that's a more strict church in regards to what I went to. I went to a non-denominational church.
Mm-hmm.
So
wait, did they speak in tongues at your church?
So there was always someone. There was always someone that would fall out. There was always someone that would catch the Holy Ghost, and all of a sudden everyone's fanning them and like they're on the floor.
So that's what we used to call Pentecostal, but they've rebranded themselves and now they call themselves non-denominational, but it's really Pentecostal, which actually in a lot of ways is more strict than Southern Baptist. It's strange. They've rebranded themselves.
Okay.
But I love the energy at a Pentecostal church until they get started on, the gays must, the gays are evil, that kind of shit. And then I'm just like, okay, you lost me.
You know what? That brings back a memory, because one of the things that my pastor was saying was that, that being gay was not of God. And, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then he was also talking about how there was no other religion that was better than being Christian. And I didn't like that even as a kid. Because to be honest, when you really start understanding these religions, you start to realize that they're all kind of saying the same thing, but in different ways.
But people are killing each other over it. That's what really broke my head. I'm like, they are saying like the basic same things, but people are killing themselves, killing each other over the fact that you don't pray exactly the way I do. You don't, it's a rabbit hole that we probably shouldn't get too deep into, but.
Right. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And what I was saying that for is because if we're all saying the same things in so many words, we're all saying the same things. We're all talking about the golden rule. We're all talking about, good karma, bad karma. We're all talking about doing to each other as you'd like done to yourself. Like it's all pretty much the same thing. Right. Okay. So if we're talking about that in the same, not in the same terms, but in the same message, then somehow, some way, everyone received the same message. So if everyone received the same message, then there has to be some sort of universal life force delivering that unified message. And if we're all subscribing to this universal life force that is God, that is the source, that is the universe, whatever you want to call it, if we're all subscribing to this, then there has to be a way for us to universally feel the presence of God. And the only way to do that is through spirituality. That's the only way to do it. It's not through, there's no necessarily instructions that one religious book will have that's better than another religious book.
Right.
It's all pretty much the same thing. You ask God for what you want, and asking ye shall receive. And that's in the Bible. And it's also in a different way in the Quran. And it's also in a different way in Buddhism. And it's also in a different way in Hebrew. Like, it's all saying the same thing. And why am I saying that? Because spirituality is the only way for you to truly become the higher and strongest and truest and authentic version of yourself. Mm. And you don't have to subscribe to a religion to be spiritual. Mm-hmm. You don't have to subscribe to a book to get closer to God. And I want people to understand that, because unfortunately, the religious books have been changed multiple times over thousands and thousands of years by men who did not want humans who could not read to understand that they had the same ability to tap into spirituality, to become the highest and truest and best versions of themselves.
Right.
They didn't want that. They didn't want you to become better. They didn't want you to ascend. They didn't want you to get closer to God, other than getting closer to God in their terms. Okay?
In their centralized power systems, their temples, their churches,
Right. Now, you can get closer to God no matter where you are and no matter what you subscribe to. Like, there's no one way. And I feel like that needs to be expressed and it needs to be said over and over again, because there's no one way to God, right? So I'm saying that because many times when I've talked to empaths, they feel afraid. They're afraid because of their judgment. They're afraid of being casted out, by their friends or their family, because of how they've been indoctrinated to think that there's something wrong with being an empath. There's something wrong with being something that isn't explicitly stated in a Bible that has been changed multiple times by man, or in a Quran, or in a, Kabbalah, whatever you want to call it. It's been changed.
Mm-hmm.
The original spiritualists, the original ascended masters, whatever you want to call it, they all gave you a way to get closer to God, and it was for anyone to use, no matter where you came from, no matter what, nationality, no matter what country you're from, whatever you want to call it. There was always just a way for you to get closer to God, and that's all spirituality is. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you because you want to change the way that you choose to get spiritual and closer to God.
Mm. I like that. To me, it's these are God-given gifts, but I've seen, I know my experience as a child, and my dad's mother and his two sisters were very, very psychically connected. Like my grandmother would go to reach for the phone on the wall, back in the day, to call my aunt, and the phone would ring right before she touched it, and it was my aunt. So they had a lot of that stuff. And one of my aunts got very, very, deep into the Pentecostal faith, and decided that it was evil and it was from the devil and yada yada. And I'm like, but think about 100 years ago, when phones weren't commonplace. Like, you needed that sixth sense to know that somebody was hurt out in the field. I mean, all my ancestors were freaking farmers, so it's like you needed that sense to be like, oh crap, I just feel like something's wrong. Let me go out here and find my child, or find my husband, or whatever. So to me, like, they're very much from God, but the way that the way that I was raised was that it was just evil and it was wrong. And so, and even though I also didn't resonate with the stuff I was being told, I was still afraid to trust myself, and I find that even as an adult, when I have a synchronicity happen, or, I have an intuitive hit, there's a part of me that's just like, okay, am I crazy? Am I possessed? What's going on? So cool. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about this 5-day challenge, like what people can come and learn.
Yes, absolutely. So the workshop that I'm conducting right now, it's called the Activate Your Empath Gifts Workshop. And what empaths can learn is how to really make space for them to feel. And it's important that you make space for yourself to feel. And it's important that you do something called shadow work, so that way you can understand all aspects of yourself, both the good and the not so good, right? Both things that are desirable qualities and the not so desirable qualities, just because they all make you you. So that day in the 5-day workshop will help you fully express yourself by fully accepting yourself. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. And then another day that we're going to be doing is understanding how to tap into, your energy systems. There's actually multiple types of energy systems in your body. We're talking about the meridians. We're talking about the radiant circuits. We're talking about Celtic weave. We're talking about multiple forms of routes of how energy flows in your body. So we're going to be talking about how you can access those energy systems. So that way you can stop having to feel the need to protect yourself from negative energies, the need to protect yourself from people, the need to protect yourself from absorbing all of these energy, because now you can understand how to create the flow of your natural energy in your body through these systems. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about how to get you into alignment, how to get you through your heart into alignment so you can receive intuition, so you can understand the difference between your inner voice's ego, or your inner voice's negative voice, I should say, where you're constantly second guessing yourself. You're constantly going in circles. You're constantly maybe comparing yourself to someone else. You know, those types of symptoms. We're going to be understanding how to get yourself into alignment through your heart, so that way you stop second guessing your intuition and learn how to trust yourself and trust your intuition. And when you trust your intuition, you can trust your intuitive gifts and your empath gifts, and you can definitely learn how to awaken them and how to activate them. And then we'll be talking about also, I actually did a live about this today, about how you can understand what type of empath you are. You know, what are you? Are you a telepathic empath, precognitive empath? There's actually multiple types of empaths depending on the types of abilities that you have, or you can learn to grow your abilities. You can learn to hone in on certain gifts that you'd like to have and add to your repertoire, right? So we'll be talking about that as well. So we'll be talking about quite a few things, and we'll have we have a workbook. We have a workbook that you'll be using the workbook for during the trainings and answering questions. There'll be homework. You know, right now we have over 120 people in the workshop, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited to get started. So if this resonates with you, if you really want to learn to embody the power of being an empath and learn how to change the energy of the room and do so unapologetically so you can be your authentic and truest and highest self, I think that you should definitely click on the link of Activate Your Empath Gift Workshop so you can join us and really start honing in on these gifts so you can set the stage for 2021 and be you.
I love it. So we don't have a link right this second, but if you go to your profile, I'm sorry?
Do you need me to give that to you?
Yeah, if you want to hop into, well, we're streaming a bunch of different places. So after we stop in a few minutes, we'll go in and we'll put the link around the various places, or you can go to Radiance Thompson's profile. And I'm acting like I got no sleep last night, but I did. To Radiance Thompson's profile and click on the link. And you're starting tomorrow. What time? What time's the first live session?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I do have my corporate job that I have to go to. So after my corporate job, I'll be doing the live trainings, and then you'll have your workbook together at 6 p.m. PST. So once again, 6 p.m. PST, that's 9 p.m. EST. And don't worry, there will be recordings available so you can catch up on the work in your own time.
Great. And I know like Ray is super passionate. So, she's super responsive. She's going to be, checking in on folks and, making sure that you're really getting something out. And she's going to be talking about this amazing program that she's got available for people. So if you want to learn more about Ray and more about what she does, and you want to, I know there's going to be so much value. Like, she's not going to be somebody who's going to do 10 minutes of training and then pitch at you for 50 minutes. Like, that's not her style. That's not how we roll. There's going to be like so much value, and she'll be there to answer questions and help you to really, fine tune it, so that you really get some growth, out of this. And what I love about what you were talking about, what really stood out to me, that I think a lot of people can relate to, is you're talking about, that trusting the intuition and not second guessing. So what that translates to me is like being able to make better decisions quicker, not having that, gut wrenching awfulness of like the self-doubt and the second guessing, and, just knowing that like going to be able to make a higher quality decision and make it quicker. Like, that is just amazing. And that's not something that would immediately come to mind for me if I was just like, oh, I'm going to go do this empath training, it's like you immediately go to like the woo, and the woo is awesome, but there's really like, there's day-to-day practical, mundane benefits to it as well.
Right. It's like, so one of my things that I really enjoy to do, and I'm sure that you understand this by now about me, that I like to bridge the gap where you can understand how what you're feeling or what you're currently experiencing in your life, how that relates to spirituality, and there's actionable steps or tools that you can access right now, so that way you can get yourself across that bridge to where you want to be, whether it be understanding your life purpose, whether it be understanding how to be yourself more and stop feeling like you have to be what other people want you to be, understanding how to just be you in the most authentic version of you. And that is always through spirituality, but you have to understand that it starts with these little things, like, why do I compare myself all the time? Why do I second guess myself all the time? Why do I have self-doubt all the time? Why do I tell myself that I can't do things, or that I'm not capable, I'm not worthy, or, I have all of these just negative conversations about myself? Like, why do I? That's what we explore in a way that you can understand that spirituality bridges you across, or, you can take the spirituality bridge across these issues, so you can understand how to live a life of purpose through spiritual tools, but still, like, you can still go to the grocery store and not be all the way in a whole nother planet. You know what I mean? Like, you can still act like who you want to be at the checker line.
You don't have to quit your corporate job and, go, I don't know, go meditate 24 hours a day and become an all organic vegan. And, if you want to do those things, great, but you don't have to do that in order to start benefiting from this. And I love that, because it's like practical woo, it's like woo, and then like practical. I like it. Well, thank you, Ray, so much for coming and for talking to my audience. And, always a pleasure to connect with you. I'm going to be popping into the challenge. I'm going to make as much time for it as I can, because I'm really excited. I'll probably be watching replays instead of coming on live. But yeah, this is amazing.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everyone for listening. And once again, I would love to see all of you in the Activate Your Empath Gifts workshop. Thank you, Heather.
You're so welcome. And we'll be, as soon as we get off here in a sec, we'll be going in and like adding in those links to the challenge. So thanks, everybody. Happy Thursday. And we'll see you in the challenge tomorrow.
Bye, lovely.
Bye.